Have you ever noticed something strange? The people you trusted the most often disappeared when you needed them. The people you supported, defended, listened to, and sacrificed for somehow became distant, cold, or indifferent. Why does this happen? Why do some people celebrate your failures more than your victories? Why do people smile in front of you, but secretly compete with you? And why does loneliness sometimes feel more honest than company? Most people spend their entire lives believing they are surrounded by friends, but one painful experience, one betrayal, one crisis, one moment of weakness, and suddenly the truth reveals itself. The people you thought would stand beside you are nowhere to be found. This realization can be devastating. But according to Arthur Schopenhauer, it is also one of the most important truths a person can discover. Schopenhauer spent much of his life studying human nature. What he found was uncomfortable. He believed that most human relationships are not built on genuine care. They are built on self-interest, convenience, comparison, and hidden desires. That doesn't mean friendship is impossible. It means true friendship is rare. And once you understand why, you stop expecting loyalty from people who were never capable of giving it. You stop taking betrayal personally. You stop chasing validation. And you begin to see people exactly as they are. By the end of this video, you will understand why most people are not your friends, how human nature secretly shapes relationships, and why this realization can become one of the most liberating discoveries of your life. Let's begin. One of the greatest mistakes people make is confusing proximity with friendship. Just because someone spends time with you does not mean they care about you. Think about your workplace. You see the same people every day. You laugh together. You share stories. You help each other. Everything feels friendly. But what happens when you leave? What happens when you no longer provide value to that environment? For many people, the relationship disappears overnight. Why? Because the connection was built on circumstance, not genuine affection. Schopenhauer understood this deeply. He believed that most human relationships are formed because they serve a purpose. People gather around common interests, mutual benefits, social convenience, or emotional needs. Remove those factors and many relationships collapse. This is not cruelty. It is simply human nature. The takeaway is simple. Not everyone who spends time with you is invested in you. Sometimes they are simply invested in the situation. And that distinction changes everything. But there is something even more uncomfortable. Many people are secretly competing with you, even those who claim to support you. Have you ever shared exciting news and noticed a strange reaction? A forced smile, a brief silence, an unexpected change in energy. At first you ignore it, but deep down something feels different. Schopenhauer believed that envy is one of the strongest forces in human psychology. People naturally compare themselves to others. When someone close to them succeeds, it forces them to confront their own insecurities. Your promotion reminds them of their stagnation. Your confidence reminds them of their fears. Your growth reminds them of their excuses. This does not mean everyone envies you, but it does mean that success often reveals who was genuinely happy for you and who was only comfortable when you remained at their level. Many friendships survive your struggles. Far fewer survive your success. And that is a truth many people discover too late. The next reason most people are not your friends is because many relationships are based on emotional transactions. This sounds harsh, but look closely. How many people contact you only when they need something: advice, attention, support, validation, money, time, energy? The relationship feels balanced until one day you stop giving. Suddenly the connection weakens. The calls become less frequent. The messages become shorter. The interest disappears. Why? Because some people were never attached to you. They were attached to what you provided. Schopenhauer argued that human beings are often driven by desire, and desire seeks satisfaction. Many people approach relationships unconsciously asking one question: what can I gain from this? The moment the answer changes, their behavior changes too. This is why healthy boundaries are so powerful. Boundaries expose intentions. When you stop overgiving, you discover who values you and who merely values your usefulness. And now we arrive at a surprising truth, one that challenges everything society teaches about friendship. The problem is not that people are selfish. The problem is that we expect them not to be. Most disappointment comes from unrealistic expectations. We imagine loyalty where there is convenience. We imagine devotion where there is mutual benefit. We imagine unconditional support where there is personal interest, and then we feel shocked when reality appears. But Schopenhauer believed wisdom begins when illusion ends. The moment you stop expecting people to be something they are not, your suffering decreases dramatically. You stop feeling betrayed by predictable behavior. You stop taking human nature personally. You stop living in fantasy, and you start living in reality. This realization is not pessimistic, it is freeing, because reality can never disappoint you the way illusion can. Now let's go deeper. Why do people disappear during difficult times? Because hardship acts like a filter. Anyone can stand beside you when life is easy. Anyone can enjoy your company when you are successful. Anyone can celebrate with you when everything is going well. But adversity creates pressure, and pressure reveals character. When problems arrive, people must decide whether your relationship is worth sacrifice. Some decide it isn't. Schopenhauer often emphasized that suffering reveals truths hidden by comfort. A financial crisis, a personal loss, a health problem, a major failure. These experiences expose the real structure of your relationships. Some people leave, some remain, and those who remain become incredibly valuable, not because they are perfect, but because they stayed when leaving would have been easier. The next truth may be the most painful of all. Many people like the version of you that benefits them, not the real you. The moment you change, some relationships begin to crack. Start saying no. People get upset. Become more confident. People call you arrogant. Set boundaries. People accuse you of changing. Pursue bigger goals. People become distant. Why? Because your growth disrupts their expectations. The old version of you was familiar, predictable, comfortable. The new version demands adjustment, and not everyone is willing to adjust. This is why personal growth often feels lonely. As you evolve, some relationships naturally fall away, not because you are becoming worse, but because you are becoming different. And not everyone wants access to the person you are becoming. Some only wanted access to the person you used to be. Schopenhauer believed that solitude contains a unique kind of power, a power that many people fear. Most individuals remain surrounded by others because they are afraid of being alone. They tolerate disrespect. They ignore manipulation. They accept shallow relationships, all because loneliness feels frightening. But what if loneliness is not the enemy? What if dependence is? The person who cannot be alone becomes vulnerable to anyone willing to offer attention. The person who enjoys solitude becomes difficult to manipulate because they do not need constant approval. They do not fear temporary isolation. They are not desperate for companionship. And that changes everything. True strength emerges when being alone no longer feels like punishment. It feels like peace. At this point, you may be wondering, if most people are not my friends, who can I trust? The answer is surprisingly simple. Trust actions, not words, not promises, not appearances, actions. Observe who remembers you when they need nothing. Observe who celebrates your success without discomfort. Observe who respects your boundaries. Observe who remains present during difficult times. Observe who tells you the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Genuine friendship reveals itself through consistency, not performance, not charm, not emotional speeches. Consistency. Time always exposes reality. Masks require energy. Authenticity does not. And eventually every person reveals who they truly are. This brings us to the deepest lesson of all. The goal of life is not to collect as many friends as possible. The goal is to understand human nature without becoming bitter. This is where many people fail. They discover deception and become cynical. They experience betrayal and stop trusting everyone. They learn painful truths and become emotionally closed. But wisdom is different. Wisdom sees reality clearly while keeping the heart open. Schopenhauer never suggested that genuine friendship was impossible. He simply believed it was rare. Rare things are valuable. A single loyal friend is worth more than 100 temporary companions. A single honest relationship is worth more than endless social approval. A single trustworthy person can change your entire life. The mistake is assuming everyone deserves the title of friend. They don't. That title should be earned. Slowly, carefully, through time, adversity, honesty, and mutual respect. And perhaps that is the greatest freedom of all. When you stop expecting friendship from everyone, you become grateful for the few who truly deserve it. You stop chasing crowds. You stop fearing solitude. You stop confusing attention with loyalty. And you begin building relationships based on reality instead of illusion. Arthur Schopenhauer understood something most people spend decades learning. The world is full of acquaintances. It is full of companions. It is full of temporary alliances. But true friendship is rare, and because it is rare, it is precious. Remember this: the people who truly belong in your life do not merely enjoy your presence when it is convenient. They remain when there is nothing to gain. They remain when life becomes difficult. They remain when the masks fall away. And those are the people worth keeping. Because in a world full of temporary connections, genuine loyalty is one of the rarest forms of wealth. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more insights about philosophy, psychology, human nature, emotional intelligence, self-development, manipulation, and personal power, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Because the more you understand human nature, the less control it has over your life. And the wiser you become, the harder it is for the world to deceive you.